As we approach the upcoming elections, we face an important choice. Leadership is more than just promises. It's about action, vision, and commitment. But how do we truly get to know the people who want to lead us? Good day, Zamboanga. I'm Rogin Eribal, and this is the Local Candidates Interview, a platform where we take a closer look at the people who seek to serve our city. This special series is brought to you by the Ateneo de Zamboanga University in partnership with the Commission on Elections and the United Front for Honest, Orderly, and Peaceful Elections. Our goal is simple: to provide you, the voters, with the information you need to make an informed choice this coming election. Joining us today is Maria Isabel Beng Climaco, who is running for Vice Mayor. Welcome and thank you for being here, ma'am.
Buenos días y vaya con Dios también.
Ma'am, 3 years of hiatus in the public office.
Yes, that was the term I was about to use, hiatus.
Hiatus, right. What does a normal day look like for you as a private citizen?
As a private citizen, I start my day with prayer, gratitude God, have my breakfast, and I have my time to really think about my life. I try to hear Mass, and I enjoy cooking. And nowadays, I try to enrich myself by listening to the voices of people around me.
You're one proud Zamboangueña, and Zamboanga is known for its rich food culture. What's your favorite local dish?
Pansit.
Pansit, pansit. Now, let's move to an icon for leadership. Who for you is your leadership icon?
My leadership icon is Jose Cortez Climaco, my father. He is the one who introduced me to public service, coming from my mother, Isabel Cortez Climaco, a suffragist. She is a champion of women's right to vote in 1938. She was one of those who campaigned for us women to vote and be voted upon. March is the celebration of International Women's Month, and thus I congratulate all the women that really aspire to have a voice in our community so that we will be able to have equity in government. Being the principal author of the Magna Carta of Women 9710, I would not have had a child physically, though I had an ectopic pregnancy, but by God's grace, I was able to give birth to the Magna Carta of Women, to be able to give women the equal right to vote and be voted upon, and also to champion against discrimination.
Now, let's dive deeper, ma'am, into your aspirations for this position. You know this fully well, no? Public service is a huge responsibility, and every leader has their own perspective on governance. So let's start with this. For you, what is the most important function of the position you are running for?
As presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panglungsod, we must abide by Republic Act 7160, which is the local government code. And we are there as a presiding officer to ensure that the legislation passed is fair, that we resolve the issues in the government, and most importantly, for appropriations and regulation, that the Sangguniang Panglungsod, as a legislative body, will be able to respond to the challenges and needs of Zamboanga City.
And leadership also comes with great responsibility.
Definitely.
You know? What do you think are the key qualities that a vice mayor should have to effectively serve the people?
First, number one, you have to be knowledgeable of the local government code, because that is really a Bible of where we abide by from the local elected officials. Secondly, you must be able to have knowledge of the internal rules and procedures which will guide the legislation in the Sangguniang Panglungsod. And thirdly, you must be able to be fair towards all the members of the Sangguniang Panglungsod, because per se, the vice mayor cannot vote unless to break a tie.
Now, good governance is a term we hear often, but what does it really mean to you, and how do you plan to embody it if you get elected?
Robin, I really like the word you said, hiatus. It's a break from 24 years of experience in public service. I have learned, because I was given an opportunity to teach masteral class, leadership is really to lead by example and serve with the heart. Unfortunately, we realize that leaders today, not judging, lack the competency to manage our city. That is why it is this level of frustration and pain that I come to aspire to serve you. Coming to La Purisima, for example, you see the road constructions. It's so frustrating how they constructed the road and left it abandoned all the way from Ateneo de Zamboanga La Purisima campus. It is very turbulent, and we have to correct this, Robin.
Leading with a heart. Leading
Yes.
with a heart.
Leadership is serving by example and leading with a heart. Because if you do not have heart, if you do not have love for what you do, then para kanino ka babangon?
Tama, no? Now let's go to the priority agenda of your team. No? What would be the first 3 bills as a vice mayor that you would help legislate as an ordinance once you get elected?
The priority programs of Team Zamboanga is health, education, and security. We have started the Largo Vida program, and this time we would want to come up with an ordinance to ensure that there is free medication for our senior citizens, education for children so that we will be able to start down to the early childhood care and development to bring back the books that we've started, and nutrition program, and the other important means. Now, this is really dependent on the synergy between the Sanggunian and the local chief executive to utilize government funds for security. So the 3 priority programs is health, education, and security.
As a presiding officer, you mentioned earlier as the main job of a vice mayor. No? And as that presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panglungsod, how will you ensure cooperation between councilors, especially when some will come from different political groups?
I am very blessed to have my mentor as Attorney Jose Cortez Climaco, the former presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panglungsod. He has guided me in politics and taught me to be a fiscalizer and to be honest. As presiding officer, I must be fair to give all the members of the Sanggunian the opportunity to be able to speak out as I have been given. So I must maintain my objectivity, and I have the power of the gavel to be able to preside. By God's grace, Robin, I have never imagined that I would preside over Imelda Marcos, Manny Pacquiao, and Gloria Arroyo in Congress. And this time, I most humbly seek to be re-elected as Vice Mayor.
Now, let's dive into the heart of this conversation, your plans and your solutions for some of the most pressing issues in Zamboanga City. The topics we'll discuss today are not just random. They're actually based on a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder focus group discussion we did in collaboration with various sectors of our community. And these issues actually reflect the real concerns of Zamboangueños. So we hope to hear concrete and actionable solutions from you, ma'am. So to keep things fair and engaging, we have a fishbowl over here containing 10 key issues. You will draw a topic one by one, and for each, we want to hear your plans and strategies. Now, you have a total of 20 minutes to go through all 10 issues, and it's up to you how you divide your time as long as every issue is covered. Let's get started.
Okay, so
All
I
right.
will pick.
Please draw the first issue from the fishbowl.
So exciting.
Let me have it. Thank you. The first topic is on teenage pregnancy or child abuse. Zamboanga City faces a severe problem of sexual violence against minors, with nearly 100 cases reported in just 8 months of 2024, 85% of which were incest, according to the Zamboanga City Police Office. This coincides with rising adolescent pregnancies, often linked to abuse and limited access to education and healthcare, as noted by the CPD Region 9. What immediate steps should we take to put a stop to this long-standing problem affecting the lives and futures of our young women?
Priority number 1 is to ensure that the local government unit, working together with the CSWDO and the Barangay Council for the Protection of Children, is really enhanced. If you go to the 98 barangays, we have the BCPC that has a safe corner for children. But most importantly also is we must ensure that the city police office, particularly the Women and Child Protection Unit, should also be supported. You know, Robin, Zamboanga City was representative of the UNICEF in Cologne, Germany. And I was really very blessed because we started a program with Dr. Jane Bascar and Ma'am Soki Rojas called Protege. This allows children to report to their teachers if there are any abuses that are done so that the local government unit will be able to act on them through the city police. And we were able to really provide justice for our victims of domestic violence. But I would like to sound an alarm and a call that the abuse of women, the abuse of children is something that we do not tolerate. And that is why there is a need for a cohesive effort to fight against abuse.
All right. Let's pick our second topic. Thank you. The next one is on food security. A 2024 World Food Program report identifies major livelihood zones in Zamboanga Peninsula, including aquaculture, rice farming, and crop production. Climate change-driven temperature increases threaten these sectors and future food yields. What measures should be taken and prioritized in the city to mitigate the impacts of climate change to the city's food security?
Well, I hope you remember candidate Bongbong Marcos saying that the price of rice would be lowered. But up to now, we have not realized it fully. In Zamboanga City, we have bastions of productivity in La Paz down to Licomo. And so what it needs to be done, number one, is that the city agriculture help our farmers, both in organic farming as well as fertilizers, so that they will able to increase their yield. Secondly, if you go to La Paz, you would see vegetables that are sold very, very affordable. But we need to mitigate it with compendium in a way that the farmers will be able to reach down to its local market. And that is where we will be able to eliminate the middle person so that they will be able to yield its productivity. We have a lot of resources in Zamboanga City, and we must work on La Paz and other agricultural yield areas for Zamboanga City because we have to look at food security and nutrition. And it is also very important what we need to do for children, that we encourage them to eat vegetables. Eating healthy and a healthy lifestyle is very, very important so that we will be able to have a productive and healthy Zamboanga City.
All right. Let's go to our third topic.
So how many questions are
There are
these?
10.
So I'll have to answer this.
Yes.
So I might just hold this.
Sure. All right. The third one is traffic.
Yes.
Traffic, which you mentioned earlier in the interview. A 2023 study revealed worsening traffic in Zamboanga City, with commuters experiencing 30-minute delays per trip and losing 2 hours daily. The study also highlighted widespread dissatisfaction with the city's limited, unreliable, and uncomfortable public transport system. Now, what would be the best way to address our traffic problem in the city, and what would be your strategy?
Way back when I was a mayor, we worked with UP Planades to be able to study our traffic route plan. Unfortunately, as what I've said, I have a problem with the management of Zamboanga City. Once upon a time, the traffic in Zamboanga City was mitigated because we had interoperability. That means to say, whether we PLDT, Water District, SAMSELCO, DPWH, and the barangays would work on the road construction, they must coordinate with the local government unit so that this interoperability of the traffic as well as the traffic route plan must be followed. Unfortunately, you go down to the local government unit, there seems to be no cohesive management of the traffic. That is why I would like to share once again my frustration. In coming to La Purisima, the construction and deconstruction of road is really visible, and it is really one of the highlights of Zamboanga City, La Purisima and Climaco Avenue being the main roads of Zamboanga. Why is there no concerted effort from the local government to have interoperability so that we will be able to manage the traffic? We in the city government in the past have worked with UP Planades so that they would come up with the study in order to put up infrastructures like KCC and SM. We demanded that they have a traffic route plan. But unfortunately this time, the traffic is very chaotic because of road construction. Plus, there seems to be very limited persons to manage the traffic.
Study takes time and actually require funding. So how soon should these strategies be implemented on your
I
term?
think there should not be a lot of tinkering. What we need to do is to review what has started. Unfortunately, Robin, for the Philippines and for politics as well, whoever sits now does not appreciate the hard work of the previous administration. We have worked with experts from the University of the Philippines, and they have created, in fact, Attorney Delgra came over to approve our traffic route plan. They just have to look at what we have started and work from them. We do not need to recreate it, Robin, but what we have to do is to review. Kung anong inumpisahan, dapat dagdagan, at kung kailangan dagdagan, ayusin natin ang problema.
You mentioned earlier about DPWH and other government agencies working together, but we know that government agencies also work on different timelines. So like, how do we ensure synchronization, for example?
They must work with the local government unit because after all, local roads and national roads have to be incorporated in the plan. For example, if you look at PLDT or whoever it is that destroyed the La Purisima Road, they must work with the city engineer's office and give the timeline so that the city government can demand from them that after they do the work, they must correct it and not just leave it unfinished. If you look at the road now, it is unfinished, though they say it's finished. So to be able to work with that, there should be synchronicity in action, coordinate with the local government so that there would be an interoperability of these functions and projects so that hindi nakabinbin ang mga project at sino ang kawawa, tayo ang kawawa.
Let's move to our next
Okay,
topic
so I
now.
have my next question.
Thank you. Our next topic is on peace and order, which is one of your priority agenda. A series of shootings in Zamboanga City has led the mayor to deploy the AFP to support the police in maintaining order and addressing rising crime. This comes at the time when the election gun ban is in full force but is violated. What do you think is the solution to this problem, and how do we ensure a stronger peace and order for the city of Zamboanga?
For Zamboanga City, the problem is that the local chief executive and that those in office do not utilize the confidential funds and the peace and order funds of the local government unit. As mayor of Zamboanga City, we have begun working with the police and the military way back in 2013 from Zamboanga Siege. What is needed, Robin, is to utilize local government funds for peace and order and development. Unfortunately, during my time, the confidential funds was 22 million. With 22 million, we were able to use zero bombing, zero kidnapping, and zero piracy. And Zamboanga City Police Office became #1 all over the country, not only once but 2 times. Today, if you check with the local government, the budget of our local chief executive is 4 times in terms of confidential funds at 96 million. With 96 million, we can do a lot to support the police and military down to the barangay tanods to protect our people. So, causal solution, use local government funds to protect our people. The money is there. I have worked with very limited funds before, but we were able to help the city police. Why not now?
But ma'am, we know that when we talk about peace and order and confidential funds, transparency and accountability are always concerns, no? How can we ensure that funds are effectively used and not mismanaged?
You can see it by the efforts of the crime incidents. If they are reduced, if there are incidents that are lessened, and if you are able to utilize police and military assets going down to protect us, that is a true measure of peace and security. The data must be backed up with actual protection from the people. And so we have done this in the past, working with the police and military. And I would like to share that there should always be 2 combat-ready battalions to protect Zamboanga City in order to complement the city police with the help of the Task Force Zamboanga, the Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Navy, Philippine Air Force, and Philippine Marines down to our 98 barangay tanods.
All right, let's go to the next topic now.
Yes. Allow me to correct myself. It is ROGIN, Rogin.
Correct. Thank you. The next topic is on education, something close to your heart. The Philippines ranked 77th out of 132 countries in the 2022 Global Knowledge Index, scoring 44.1 out of 100, below the world average. This score indicates moderate performance in education, innovation, and research and development. If you win, what specific initiatives will you implement or legislate to strengthen and support both the formal education sector and vocational training programs in our city?
Okay, so there are two sectors. We must start with children. Early childhood care and development is important. In our past administration, we used to give 4 books to complement our daycare centers. Unfortunately, today, instead of the 4 books, they only provide 2 books. As a teacher, an English major, it is not enough. We must support early childhood care and development by providing the needed books and materials, training for our pupils and teachers. Specifically, we had what we call the PET project for teachers. And we were able to train teachers in the basic education so that they will be able to gain competence when they go to the classroom, gain more competence. And finally, in vocational technical education, we have to support TESDA, and Joy Olaso comes up with a program also to help the livelihood programs, and we must continue. I have been blessed to be able to receive a recognition from TESDA, and we must continue on programs with technical vocational education so that those in the barangays that have reached, let's say, 40, are able to gain more skills so that these skills will be able to help them get needed livelihood or employment. I'll give you an example specifically, Sir Rogin. Mike Cinco took on a training in TESDA, and he was able to go abroad, and this helped him so much so that he was able to work abroad for 10 years. So programs like this to help our citizens to be able to gain technical and vocational skills to help them in their livelihood. Not necessarily employment, but to be self-employed to help the family.
But ma'am, how does this translate to legislation in terms of ensuring that there's funds for this?
Well, Rogin, there's so much legislation in the country. And what is needed is just to implement the laws. We have the Technical Educational Skills and Development Office. What is needed is to collaborate with them, to work with them in using the funding that's available so that we will have training for our people. We don't need laws. What we need to do is to implement the laws so that people will benefit from them.
All right. Let's go to our next topic. This is on corruption. The Philippines ranked 114th out of 180 countries in Transparency International's 2024 Corruption Perception Index, reflecting perceived public sector corruption like bribery and nepotism. The CPI also considers the effectiveness of anti-corruption mechanisms, including enforcement, prosecution, and whistleblower protection. If you win as our vice mayor, what specific strategies and measures will you implement or legislate to combat corruption?
Well, it should start from the people that hold the power of the purse. The sanggunian, the local chief executive, the representatives, and all elected officials. We must be accountable towards the money that passes through us, and we must ensure that local government, that funds of government be utilized for the people. To name a few, the confidential funds, the peace and order funds, social services, and even infrastructure. It should start and begin with us to say that these funds belong to the people and should be translated and given back to the people in the form of services, infrastructure, as well as funds to enable and ensure that our citizens are protected and provided with the needed funding to ensure that there is a delivery of basic services of government.
Next topic is on power. Crown Investment Holdings assumed some Zelcos management in 2019, yet system losses, inefficiency, and outages continue, reportedly causing debt to balloon to 4 billion pesos. This raises concerns about who will ultimately bear the burdens of this massive debt. If you are to be elected as vice mayor, how will you use your position to address the issue of electricity in the city?
For as long as we have electricity, we must realize that it will also need to be available for people 24/7 at an affordable cost. That has always been my battle cry. Ensure electricity 24/7 at an affordable cost. We have worked with the investment management contract that was given to Crown, and this time we are all accountable to the electric cooperative because it belongs to us. And so, as taxpayers, as payers of electricity, we must have a voice towards the AGMA.
Thank you. Let's have our next topic. This is on solid waste management. The Philippines faces unsustainable plastic use and poor waste management, generating million tons of plastic waste annually, with 20% ending up in the ocean and contributing significantly to global marine pollution. By 2025, Zamboanga City alone is estimated to generate 278,000 tons of waste. If you win as our next Vice Mayor, what specific legislative agenda will you prioritize or propose to improve solid waste management for the city?
We have started it in our term, and we have opened 2 sites for the land use, sanitary landfill. I think there is a need for us to legislate so that we purchase another property in order to widen the sanitary landfill so that we will be able to have more sites for sanitary landfill use. But if we are able to work with the OSENAR, we need to really have garbage segregation so that I believe that may pera sa basura, so that we will be able to employ as well as give livelihood for people working at solid waste management.
Next topic, down to our last 2 topics. This second to the last topic is on ayuda and social welfare services. Now, many eligible families, especially indigenous peoples, are excluded from the 4-piece program despite profiling. Similarly, numerous senior citizens are denied government assistance due to limited slots, leaving many vulnerable beneficiaries in the city without financial support. If you win as our Vice Mayor, how would you ensure the equitable distribution of these programs to all eligible beneficiaries? And what specific measures within your capacity would you implement to prevent the misuse or misappropriation of these resources?
Well, Rogin, I am also confused with this ayuda. The 4-piece plan was started during the time of President Arroyo, President Aquino, and it has really worked with helping our poor families. But today, there are so many ayuda services given, and we must really leave the politicians out of the ayuda. Our main task as Sangguniang Panglungsod is to legislate and allow CSWDO, DSWDO to work and ensure that the needed profiling of the beneficiaries that deserve should be in place. If Kramer Olaso wins as mayor, we want to come up with an ATM system so that our senior citizens need not wait a long time for their benefits to be given. Allow me to humbly say that we have started this in our term, and we really want to give it to our senior citizens because they deserve what they have worked for, not only in ayuda, in their payout, but more importantly, their free medicines. And finally,
our last topic is on flooding. Zamboanga City has repeatedly endured severe weather over the past 5 years, resulting in floods, landslides, death, and hundreds of millions in damages, affecting nearly 70,000 people and displacing thousands. Many say that the city's flood control and disaster preparedness remain insufficient. If you are to be elected as the next Vice Mayor, how will you use your position to improve disaster preparedness and ensure a more effective response to these recurring calamities?
okay. The Zamboanga City government way back worked with the National Resilience Council and the Ateneo de Zamboanga so that we would have ensured the adapt, mitigate, and respond challenges for Zamboanga City. 1, we must ensure that all government infrastructure are above board. Secondly, we must ensure that we have to clean all the passageways, clean all the canals, and with the help of our barangay. And third, provide dredging equipment so that our rivers, our canals are dredged. We have done that in Tubungan in the past, and we must continue. Congressman Kimmer Olaso has a very good flood control program, but unfortunately, the local government unit needs to purchase the right-of-way. So there should be synchronicity with the local government and that of the representatives so that the local government will support the DPWH and ensure that flood mitigation, flood control programs are done. But very basic, we must start with our families. We must ensure cleanliness. But one of the priority projects that we would like to correct is the cleanup of our public market. We need to fix our drainage system so that our public market will be able to be economically viable for our people.
All right, so those are our 10 issues, and you have already answered all of them. We're now at the final part of our conversation. This is your chance to speak directly to the people of Zamboanga City. Ma'am, with everything we've discussed, your vision, plans, and leadership approach, why should you be the next Vice Mayor of Zamboanga City? And what is your message to Zamboangueños as they prepare to cast their votes this coming May 12th?
Okay. Paz de Dios y abrazo de Nuestra Señora la Virgen del Pilar y San Jose. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I come in your presence today as a professional teacher, bringing with me 24 years of experience in public service, battle-tested by God's grace, from the Zamboanga siege to the COVID pandemic. This time, I aspire to serve you as Vice Mayor, together with my student, Kimmer Adan Olaso and Team Zamboanga. Health, education, and security are our priorities in order to bring about more opportunities and improve the lives of our people in Zamboanga City. I invite you to join us, and together, let us make our city, Zamboanga, a better place for our children and that of our families. Muchísimas gracias y vaya con Dios. Humildemente, este si Ben Climaco, aspira para vicealcalde de Ciudad de Zamboanga, número 1. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Beng, for your time and for your commitment to serving the people of Zamboanga City.
Muchas gracias y vaya con Dios.
To our viewers, this conversation is part of our effort to ensure that you, the voters, are well informed before heading to the polls. On May 12, you have the power to shape the future of our city. Choose wisely, vote responsibly. This has been the Ateneo de Zamboanga University Local Candidates Interview Series. Thank you very much. Stay informed, stay engaged, and see you at the polls on May 12th.